how can you juggle 15 projects at one time?
How was the starting point for you?
Originally I was a tradesman working as a pressure welder, and I worked for an Australian company doing fly in fly out work to Papua New Guinea, coming from New Zealand. And what actually happened was, when I got to Australia, and because I thought if I could get to the Middle East where all the big oil and gas companies were, I could maybe set myself up for the future. Continuity of work, so many things. But in reality, I got to Australia and I realised pretty quickly that Australia is the lucky country. So the two biggest things were positive cash flow, meaning I don't have to keep putting my hand in my pocket every month to top up all the mortgages.
Yeah.
But we also wanted to be able to grow a portfolio. And then there's the other factor that a lot of people come across, and I think everyone does at some stage, and that's the fear factor. What happens if I lose everything? So we were looking for a really low risk model. So we did a lot of research, and believe me, I'm talking about 12 months of research, just trying to actually find out which one can satisfy at least one or two of these things. And that's when we came across duplexes. It was at the bottom end of the scale of property development, but we were still in the residential loaning side of things. So it was something that anyone could do. Then we also looked at how can we get positive cash flow? Well, when you've got a duplex, you've got two incomes. So you've definitely got the positive cash flow. You won't always get that unless you've got a super large deposit if you've got a single dwelling. But then there was the other factor: how do I grow a portfolio? So here we are, the duplex. If we build at a wholesale price, you're actually strata titling it into two separate properties. So we build originally joined, then we separate the titles, and that's where you're actually generating manufactured equity. So if you want to grow a portfolio, you've now created, with the increase in value, the manufactured equity, putting you in the right direction for your deposit to grow that portfolio. So if I just take that back a step and just refine it a little bit, I've got two incomes, so it's always positive cash flow. So every month I'm not having to put my hand in my pocket. The strata titling gives me an increase in manufactured growth, but actually gives me a massive chunk towards growing my portfolio. So that means I don't have to go back to square one and start spending the next 5 years creating a deposit. I'm getting it within 3 months of the strata title.
Somebody that is thinking to do property investment, what should they do? What should their first steps be? And somebody that is thinking of property development, what's your approach to, what would you advise them to get started on the right path, let's say?
Property investment and property development, first off I'll say very similar. First thing I would say is education. I'll tell you a little story about education. I've done a lot of education, but I did some education and I was expecting a high return and I didn't. And I like to tell a lot of people this. I didn't get the high return that I thought I was going to get. And I was a little bit disappointed, but I took the positive that I learnt a lot. I took the positive. It's over the future, over time, I will reap that reward. Then about 12 months, 2 years later, I was looking back from where I was, and I was looking back towards where I'd done that education, and I thought to myself, gee, through that education I didn't do this deal. Through that education I didn't engage this person. Through that education I didn't actually take this deal or this deal. But the deal I did take was an absolute winner of a deal.